Hi kids, it's Mrs. Roberts again, and I've written a new story for you. Today's story got started just by talking to some students in another class, not Kids Eye Service, but another class, and I was watching them work in their room, and an idea popped into my head, okay? And so I want to, first of all, thank the students who let me use their classroom and the teacher who also participated in this story. So Mrs. Evelo, thank you very much for allowing me to use your room. All right, so our story today is called Partners in Success, and it's about putting together a project of some kind, okay? So here's our title page, Partners in Success, and I also put on here, create. You have an idea? How will you make it come to life? Be creative and go for it. And this sign was in Mrs. Evelo's room, and so that gave me the idea for this story, Partners in Success. Here we go. Of course, it's by Mrs. Roberts, and I hope you enjoy it. The students filed into Mrs. Evelo's classroom one by one. They greeted their teacher with a smile, even though it was a Monday. The class knew this was the week to work with friends on a project. The students loved working with partners. It gave them a chance to talk together with their friends and help each other. Mrs. Evelo usually let the students pick their own partners, but on this day she announced that she had assigned groups herself for the projects. The kids looked at each other and rolled their eyes. Oh, no! Oh, come on, Mrs. Evelo, Trevea complained. We like picking our own partners. That's right, Giovanni said. Philip asked, what kind of project is this anyway? And so here's our first pictures, guys. We have Mrs. Evelo greeting the students. She says, good morning, Giovanni. It's good to see you. Nice to see you. And he says, good morning, Mrs. Evelo. Glad to be here. And here we have Trevea saying, oh no, I want to pick my own partner. Mrs. Evelo just quietly shook her head and said, if you all just sit down and listen, I'll tell you. This week will be a little different. We are not working with partners on math, history, or science. This week, you will work with a partner of my choosing, and you will discover each other's strengths. What do you mean, strengths? Philip asked. Well, you have to find out what your partner is good at and what you are good at. And then you have to use both your strengths to be creative. Put your superpowers together. Like what? Everyone started asking at once. We don't get it. That's up to each of you and your partner. Come on, kids. You can do this. Each of you has skills that will complement the other. Just decide on a project as a team, and once you complete the project, you'll be expected to present it to the class. You can build something, you can write about something, invent something new, but whatever you come up with, you must find and use the strengths in each of you. Be creative. You got this. And here's Mrs. Evelo saying, be creative. You got this. remember, you will be graded as much on teamwork as the project itself. The students looked at each other with questions in their faces. So let's get started, Mrs. Evelo said as she walked around the room assigning partners. Finally, there were just 4 students left. Giovanni gave Philip a nod. As Mrs. Evelo stepped up. Giovanni, you will be partners with Trevea. And Philip, you will be partners with Heaven. Heaven's eyes widened and she said, "What? I don't know what Philip likes." "Now you'll have a chance to find out," Mrs. Evelo said with a smile. And here are the 2 boys. They were pointing at like each other. They gave each other that wink, like, "I'm going to be your partner." But no, Mrs. Evelo, she assigned them to other people. And now she says, "Now you're all going to have a chance to find out what everybody else is good at." Not sure. They're happy. Even though Mrs. Evelo was smiling, the 4 students were not smiling. But Giovanni said nothing. He saw that it would be a losing battle to complain. Then he realized, like Heaven, he didn't know what his partner was good at either. They had a lot of work to do. As the week progressed, most groups were well on their way to completing their projects, but Trevea, Giovanni, Philip, and Heaven had not even started. Mrs. Evelo decided it was time for a conference. She would sit down with both groups. She started with Giovanni and Trevea. "Let's talk," Mrs. Evelo said. "Giovanni, you tell Trevea what you are really good at or what you really like." Giovanni said, "Well, that's easy. Gaming." "Okay, that's a good start." "Trevea, what do you like?" Mrs. Evelo asked. "I like anime, and I love to draw anime girls especially," she answered. And here she is conferencing with the 2 kids. And she's trying to show them, oh, what are you good at? You know, how can you do something that would work together? Philip and Heaven were listening in on the conference. Heaven said, "You know, Philip, I love art too, but not just anime." Philip replied, "Well, I like bikes and zombies." Mrs. Evelo turned around and said, "Heaven, you and Trevea both like art? I have an idea. Just this once, I'm going to let the 4 of you work as a group. Together, you can come up with an awesome project." They all agreed. Trevea picked up a pencil and paper. She said, "Come on, guys. Like Mrs. Evelo said, we got this. Let's write down what we like. Let's make a list. 1, gaming. 2, bikes and zombies. 3, anime. 4, art. We have a lot to work with." And here's Trevea. She's like becoming a leader of this group by making a list here of all the things that each of the kids are good at. Philip piped up, "I have a great idea. We could design a new game about zombies on bikes. Heaven and Trevea could draw the pictures and the characters." The group thought it over a moment, and then they did a group fist bump. "It's only Wednesday," Heaven said. "We can do this." The group put their heads together and got to work. Each student added their superpower to the project. By Friday afternoon, they were ready to present. Every group in the class shared their project. There were stories, card tricks, magic, jump rope songs and tricks, and even a demonstration of a no-bake recipe. All the projects were a success. Last but not least, Giovanni, Trevea, Heaven, and Philip got up to present. At first, they were nervous and didn't know how to start. Mrs. Evelo reassured them, and they began. So here they are, kids. This is the fist pump they did to show that they were going to work as a team and use all their superpowers. And here is Heaven. She's doing one of the illustrations because she loved art. So she's doing an illustration for their new video game that they're creating. The presentation was amazing. Together, they had designed the script for a new video game. The characters were mostly zombies that chased anime girls on bikes through different landscapes. Philip and Giovanni presented the storyline while Heaven and Trevea displayed their artwork. The class was mesmerized, and so was Mrs. Evelo. "This is unbelievable," she exclaimed. "Why, this is so interesting, and I love the way you all added your superpowers to the project. I knew you could do it. A+ for the project, and A+ for working together, especially for being partners in success." The end. And here we have the drawings that Trevea and Heaven did. Okay, so we got our zombie. She did some drawings and we cut them out here. One of the anime girls. And here's the landscape that the bikes would go through when the zombies were chasing the girls on bikes. And then we have a couple more right here. This is another zombie right here, anime girl. And then here's another type of landscape that the girls on bikes would go during the video game. And that is the end. I loved asking the kids about their interests. I loved looking at their drawings. When I asked them, within a day or two, they had some things done for me so that I could add them to this book. And Mrs. Evelo was more than helpful in getting the kids to participate in this with me. So I want to thank them so much. I had so much fun. And I want to show you kids, this is how easy it is to write a story. You guys are living stories every single day or every single week. And you can write them down too. All right, guys. I loved reading to you today. And I will be reading to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.